I've had a lot of questions about people wanting me to explain what trauma looks like in the throat chakra and what type of illness manifests from it. So here we go. This is an intense one, and this video might be a little bit longer, so go grab your favorite herbal tea. Let's get ready to sip. Before I get started, one of the best things you can do to heal the energy and physical body of the throat chakra is real organic coconut water with lemon and honey. Drink it hot or cold, drink it every day. Coconut water is really good for you. There's sugar content in it, but it's good organic, like sugar from the source, and it also has electrolytes in it and minerals, which everybody needs. Magnesium, potassium, it's in the coconut water, and then lemon helps with balancing your pH, and then of course, if you drink it with an herbal tea, bam, that's like even more healing. And honey is amazing for the throat chakra and for the throat, for the physical part as well. All right, so with the throat chakra, this is the chakra that I see that impacts the whole body. If the person is not aware of what they're receiving energetically in regards to voice, or what they're putting out there energetically in regards to voice, it's the one I see that ripples out the fastest and starts to affect other energy chakras in the body that also manifests into illness in other parts of the body. And I've had clients that have illness all throughout their body. Hashimoto's is one I see the most because it happens in the thyroid, which is trauma to the throat chakra. And that affects the whole body because they were in a traumatized state or a stress state in the throat chakra for so long that it manifested into the illness of Hashimoto's or the other autoimmune issues through a time frame that went on for years with trauma or stress in their throat energy. So where I'm going with this is energy going out, meaning you're a person who's in a toxic state with voice. So that means you're either talking poorly to yourself, and that counts as thoughts too. It does, even if your mouth isn't moving, if you're thinking bad things about yourself and you're filling yourself with negativity through your words and speaking to yourself, that's toxic energy that will manifest into illness. Or if you're a person that's gossipy and you tend to put gossip out there and you tend to talk about people, or you're just two-faced and you stab people in the back. Sorry, I'm putting that out there. You're going to have issues with your throat chakra, and it's going to be in your mouth. So you're going to have dental issues, cavities, TMJ type issues. You're going to have canker sores. Your bite might be a little off, or your jaw might be a little crooked, maybe an overbite or an underbite, different things like that. You're also going to be a person that's prone to sickness in the back of the throat. So you'll have the dry, hacky cough. You might have bronchitis, or maybe if you have seasonal allergies, which also, just side note, their energy. Seasonal allergies are connected to energetic blocks, but they'll be in the back of your throat, and that all resonates with putting it out there. So that negative energy is coming from you, and it's going out. Now here we go with the energy coming in, and this is where things get really intense. So if you're someone that's been a victim of verbal abuse or verbal type trauma around you, meaning maybe you don't have emotional support from parents in childhood, maybe you don't have emotional support or verbal support from a spouse or partner, and so you're blocked in that energy, what happens is the throat chakra literally starts to close, and it gets smaller and smaller, and you'll feel it physically in the body because your neck will start to tighten, and you don't notice it because you're in a state of stress. So you're thinking and reacting and trying to adapt to whatever situation is coming to you. And in most cases, if someone's verbally abusive, that's not the only issue in the home. So it puts you in a reactive state, in a state of feeling traumatized, and you know that you can't express yourself because that's going to create more conflict. So instead, you clench your teeth, you tighten your throat, you tighten your jaw and your neck, and you have like this type of effect going. But you feel natural, like shoulders are relaxed, everything's great, but your throat and everything's tense. So like you can feel it all through here. That's where I see the Hashimoto's come in, because it affects the thyroid right away, because the person's in a state of stress and they go into a reactive state. So they're in a fight or flight survival mode. That definitely manifests into illness on the body. And as time carries on, as this toxic energy, they're in a receiving state and they're trying to block themselves because they're in a fight or flight survival mode, it'll start to manifest into pain and neck pain down through the trapezius muscle and also in the center of the back. And again, that's where sometimes, I've mentioned this before, you'll start to see a bump right at the top of their back, and sometimes that can resonate with the heart, but it also can resonate with the throat because there's so much pressure and so much energy being just compressed and squeezed in the throat chakra that the person's not able to really learn the expression of voice anymore. And then what happens is that pain starts to vibrate into the trapezius muscle. They're slowly, gradually losing identity of self, which then now we're getting into the heart energy, because now it's shifting down to the heart, and they're starting to lose the sense of self. And by the time they come to me to our session, they're now feeling like, well, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what my life purpose is. I haven't thought about myself in years. I don't even know what I like. I don't know what my joy is. And that's where the heart starts to suffer and starts to get depleted, and they're now in an energy deficit, which now ripples into chronic fatigue or adrenal fatigue, or they start having issues in their chest with breathing shallow, because they're now in a state of stress where they're not receiving love because they're not giving it to themselves, and they're not receiving it from the outside source because it's a toxic space. It's a toxic surrounding, their environment. They're not receiving anything in the energy of voice. Now we're into the shoulders. So if they're in a space of someone who's a masculine energy, or they're out of balance in their masculine and feminine and they have more masculine energy, in most cases the issues will take place on the right side of the body, because that's the masculine energy. And if it's a feminine energy, like a woman, like a mother or a sister or a roommate, something along those lines, a boss, I see that all the time. I see toxic female bosses or male bosses cause issues all the time in the throat chakra, and they go as far as Hashimoto's, depending on how long the person's in that work environment. That illness will be on the left side of the body, because the left side is the feminine energy. And so now as this energy, as it starts to continue in this toxic state, and the person's in fight or flight, and they've now lost touch with the fact that they're actually in a traumatized state because they're so conditioned to adapt and react, they've now forgotten that they're even being abused, or they're in an abusive environment. Now, I do use the word abusive loosely, because in some cases there are relationships that I see that aren't abusive, but the person's not receiving any love or any energy because their partner is kind of blocked in that, and they come from a different type of expression of self and love. So I don't see that as like abuse, but it's definitely a gap in communication, which is the voice energy. So as this person is now depleted, back to where I was talking about in the heart energy, they're now feeling an energy deficit, and that's where I mentioned earlier the chronic fatigue. Well, what ends up happening is, because they haven't been able to be expressive in themselves, and they haven't been able to speak in their identity or in their truth, because now they're just adapting and reacting to their environment that's not serving them in the voice, which has caused them to lose energy in the heart. Now they get to where they start making fear-based decisions, which is their solar plexus energy. The solar plexus is right behind the stomach. That causes stomach issues every time. And the stomach issues can be like celiac disease. It can be issues with the intestines. Even though that's sacral chakra energy, it can still cause issues with either diarrhea or constipation, because they're now making fear-based decisions because they're afraid of their voice. So they don't have the confidence to just look at something that needs to be like a decision that needs to be made and go, that's what I want to do, or that's where I'm going, or whatever. They're very blocked, and their decisions become fear-based. In a lot of cases, I see a parent in the back of the energy's mind who in childhood was well, why would you do that? You should do it this way. You should do it that way. They're like the naysayer, or they're like the parent that's waiting to say, I told you so. You should have listened to me. I would have done it better. You could have done this and you could have done that. This person now is an adult in a session with me, and I can hear the parent's voice in the background, and I tell them, I'm like, you're making fear-based decisions, and in the back of your energy, literally in the back of your solar plexus energy, I am hearing a parent, and you are fearing them saying, I told you so. So now you just don't even make decisions because you're afraid of the reaction of, if you fail, hearing someone say, I told you so. So it's like a fear-based decision because of fear of failure, and hearing someone who's always talked them down getting that last word and being able to say, I told you so. It creates illness on the body, and it causes stomach issues every time. So with your throat chakra, 9 minutes later, it is so important to be fully aware of what you're receiving energetically in voice and what you're putting out energetically in voice. Because in my opinion, the heart and the throat, and it just in my own opinion and what I see as a medical health intuitive, those are the two that I see impact the whole body the most in what the person's putting out, whether they're putting out hate from the heart or not liking people and judging, or they're putting out judgment in the voice and poor self-talk, and they're gossiping and they're being dishonest with people, or they're receiving that negative energy and that a person's not talking well to them and not giving them love or emotionally supporting them. Those are the two areas, the throat and the heart chakra, that I see over time as this person's in this environment that's in a lower energy. It vibrates throughout the whole body, and those energy blocks that create and form with all those experiences that don't serve us, every time they'll manifest into illness.